Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Scholar Success and Support Department's open house. My name is Rebecca McAlpine. I have been and will continue to be your tour guide all throughout our weeks of welcome sessions, or as we affectionately call them, WOW. Today, I have the privilege and honor of getting to hand off the mic to not one, but two of our expert staff members here at Compass. Our first presenter will be Melissa Mayer, followed by Dawn Lothringer, and then we'll wrap up with a Q&A session for those who are here live. So with that, Melissa, go ahead and take it away.
All right. Good morning, everybody. I am so excited that you are here today. As always, first our agenda. There we go. As always, we will go over our mission and vision statement. I will introduce my team of intervention tutors and resource specialists, provide an overview of the MTSS framework, and then dive deeper into what those academic supports look like here at CCS. After I share some of our celebrations from last year, I'll turn the mic over to my colleague, Dawn, our Scholar Support Coordinator, who will share about the SST process and Section 504 plans. And then there will be time for Q&A at the end of the presentation. Both our mission and vision relate directly to MTSS and what both the Scholar Success and Scholar Support teams do. Our work with scholars is individualized based on specific skill needs, and we give our scholars those tools for their toolbox to help them learn, to love learning, and to become lifelong learners. Also speaking directly to MTSS are our Arctic values: achievement, respect, teamwork, integrity, and communication. Our team displays our Arctic values at every session to remind us all of the expectations we hold for each other. So as Becca said, my name is Melissa Mayer, and I'm the Scholar Success Coordinator here at CCS. This is my 4th year in this role, and prior to that, I was still on the Scholar Success team as a reading tutor for middle and high school scholars. I've been in education for 15 years, and education has always been my passion, especially working with scholars who need additional support. I was a fine student, but I had to work really hard to comprehend some of the content. And it has always been my goal to give my scholars the supports that they want and need, the supports that I wanted and needed in order to fully access their curriculum. Success for each scholar is the goal of our team. We work under the MTSS framework, which I'll dive into, and it operates under the belief that all means all. All scholars receive equitable access to their curriculum. So meet our team. We have a full team this year. Every one of these educators loves her job, and it's evident in her teaching. We have Miss Jasmine as our elementary math intervention tutor, and Miss Loera for middle school and high school math intervention tutor. Then there's Miss Sylvia for elementary reading intervention tutoring, and Miss Drew for middle school and high school reading intervention tutoring. We have 3 resource specialists. Mrs. Solons is middle school and high school math, and she makes me love math. Mrs. Darley works with our middle school and high school scholars to develop reading comprehension skills. And Mrs. Hillhouse Campese, who works with our lower elementary scholars in foundational literacy skills. So what is MTSS? It is a multi-tiered system of supports, a systematic multi-tiered model that targets behavioral, social, emotional, and academic support for all scholars prior to a problem. This tiered instruction is differentiated to meet the needs of individual scholars, both academically and behaviorally. MTSS will make all scholars more successful in all areas of school and keep them on track for graduation while preparing them to be college and career ready. In each of these areas, behavioral, social, emotional, and academic, scholars receive support at various levels based on their needs. The levels are fluid, so some scholars may only always need Tier 1 support. Some may need Tier 2 to get through a bit of a rough patch, and few may need intensive support at the Tier 3 level to help get them back on track. What's beautiful about MTSS is your scholar has an entire team working to determine the specific supports that are best suited for him or her. While MTSS encompasses all three of these domains, today I'm going to really focus on how we provide tiered academic support here at Compass. Okay, this graphic I love to use. It represents the different tiers within MTSS. We have tier 1, which is universal. This is for all scholars. Then we have tier 2, which are supplemental supports for some, and tier 3, which is intensive support for few. So in MTSS, when we're talking about these academic supports, we're really talking about RTI, which is response to instruction and intervention. It's an approach that focuses on individual scholars who are struggling academically, and all the stakeholders pool together resources to promote scholars' success before they fall even farther behind. It's systematic and it's data-driven with the tiered levels of intervention to benefit every scholar. This is what is so beautiful about MTSS in all the domains. It involves all stakeholders, teachers, counselors, coordinators, tutors, so on, collaborating to best support each scholar. These conversations are always happening. And just last week, school hasn't even started, and a teacher reached out to me. And we pulled in one of the resource specialists. We met to discuss the best way to support a scholar's growth in reading. So we came up with a plan. The teacher created a scope and sequence that mirrored what we'll do in a resource group. And together, we determined what is the best way to support this scholar. And the beauty is, this conversation is not one and done. It's ongoing throughout the year. We are all invested in your scholars. So I'm going to go through each tier individually so you can get an idea of what happens at each level. As I mentioned, all scholars receive this tier 1 support, this instruction in their classes. Approximately 80% of scholars qualify as only needing tier 1 support. This is our rigorous grade level instruction, and there is differentiation when needed. Tier 2 serves scholars needing more help. This is about 15% of the school population. It's extra instruction and support provided to these scholars, often in smaller groups. So tier 2 support is needed when there are small skill gaps. They're identified either by a diagnostic assessment or teacher's progress monitoring. Sometimes this support happens with the content or supervising teacher. It's extra instruction and using evidence-based supports. Oftentimes they are invited to our sessions, which I will get to. If identified by the initial STAR diagnostic, scholars who need the tier 2 supports will be invited to the small group math and reading intervention tutoring. In the sessions, they'll receive targeted instruction via Freckle. Okay, tier 3. This is for scholars who need intense support in order to succeed, about 5% of a scholar population. Again, extra instruction and support are provided, often in even smaller groups or one-to-one, so scholars receive the individual attention they need. Similar to scholars in need of tier 2 support, these scholars who are identified as needing tier 3 are invited to our resource groups with credentialed resource specialists. Okay, I alluded to this a bit, the identification of scholars. As mentioned, we use a universal screener for identifying scholars in need of tier 2 or tier 3 academic supports. This is done during the first 2 weeks of school using STAR Renaissance Diagnostic. And then scholars take it 2 more times. They take it mid-year and end of year in order to monitor progress and growth. The main data point that we use to invite scholars to intervention to our tutoring and resource groups is this STAR test. Any scholar identified as intervention, which is yellow, or urgent intervention, which is red, they receive an invitation. This is why it's hugely important that scholars take this test with fidelity. We use this data as our starting point when it comes to providing academic support. If a test score isn't accurate, I recommend testing again. If a scholar does not qualify for tutoring, but a teacher or learning coach is noticing significant skill gaps, implement that evidence-based strategy with progress monitoring. And if that scholar doesn't respond to that strategy, we can look at placing him in intervention according to the scholar's needs. So now let's look a little closer at what these supports from our team look like. Let's talk tutoring. As I mentioned, this was my role at Compass for 2 years, and it was the best job. We host weekly small group sessions. They're grouped by grade level and needs for math and reading. These groups are based on that STAR diagnostic as well as teacher identification. And it's a fun learning opportunity for scholars to get support in areas that need strengthening. It really is such a joyful learning community. This year, we'll continue to use Freckle as our curriculum for scholars working with the intervention tutors. Those working with Mrs. Solons and Mrs. Darley will use IXL. And then our kinder through second grade scholars in need of foundational literacy support will work in LaLilo, which is more targeted toward those early literacy skills. All groups focus on strengthening skills necessary for accessing grade level curriculum. They're not really homework help, but I like to use the analogy of a road that's just riddled with potholes. Many scholars have great strategies for navigating around those potholes, but it takes them longer to reach the end. So our support sessions help fill in those potholes, and they create smoother, easier, and definitely a more enjoyable ride to the end. Okay, so once that testing window closes, we gather all the data and see who's identified as needing targeted support in math or reading. I send out an initial email to let all LCs, scholars, and STs know that their scholar is invited to attend these support sessions for math and/or reading. Shortly after, the tutor or resource specialist will send her invitation email. This email has all the details about session times and days, and it includes an RSVP link. Please complete the RSVP link because this helps us manage our calendar invitations. We add scholars to the Google Calendar invite, and it just really helps us better communicate our session details. Our team also sends out weekly communication to scholars, LCs, and STs. It includes reminders about session details, links to their slides and Nearpod lessons from the week, recordings of that lesson, and any documents that can be used as lesson aids. The recordings and Nearpod scholar-paced lessons can be used for asynchronous participation. So some of our scholars have scheduling conflicts. They use this as an option to still participate in the math and reading support. Worth noting, our team uses focus mode during instructional time, and focus mode is wonderful. It's a great way to reduce distraction, but it also allows our scholars who are a little bit more timid to turn on their camera without being seen by others. Only the teacher can see everybody. All scholars only see the teacher. So that said, our scholars do like to come and see their friends. So we give them time before and after instruction to see one another and interact. In fact, so many scholars respond to our end of year survey saying that they loved being able to come each week and connect with their friends. Our sessions really create just a tight-knit community of learners. We are always really excited to dive into the data. At the end of the school year, I've become such a data nerd and I love it because we like to see how many of our scholars were growing and learning. Overall, we have found that scholars who are identified as needing tiered intervention and they attend our MTSS support sessions, they show more growth than those who don't. I really want to highlight the scholars who participated asynchronously last year. The option was new, and again, it was great for those scholars who have packed schedules or scheduling conflicts or are simply going to miss 1 week of school. So these scholars don't have to miss out on this learning opportunity. So we send that Nearpod lesson and recording every Friday, and they complete the scholar-paced Nearpod. They watch the recording, and they do their work in Freckle, IXL, or LaLilo, respectively. And then often these are the scholars taking advantage of office hours, and they get that extra individual support. So even our scholars who participated this way showed growth, and we're really excited to continue to provide this opportunity this year. Okay, finally, my favorite. As I mentioned, we survey our learning coaches, our scholars at the end of every year. It really helps us refine our practices and increase the effectiveness of our support. You can read these yourselves. I'm not gonna lie, I always choke up when I read about the impact our team has on the Compass Scholars. My all-time favorite. It helped me realize that I could do things that I've never done before. We are all doing our job when scholars realize how smart they are. So I'm now going to pass it over to my wildly talented colleague, Dawn Lothringer, and she'll tell you about some more ways that we support our Compass Scholars.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dawn Lothringer, and I'm the Scholar Support Coordinator for Compass. In my position, I oversee the Scholar Study Team, or the SST program. Our SST program received a revamp this summer to simplify the process, so more focus can be spent on helping the scholars be successful instead of working on paperwork. I'm excited to see how these changes will improve the process and the scholar outcomes this year. Also in my position, I have the honor and privilege of working with our scholars who have disabilities within our general education program. These are scholars who need the school to provide them accommodations so they can be successful in accessing their general education curriculum and activities, but don't require the services of special education. Whether the scholar's disability is physical or mental health related, if it is impacting their ability to learn the same as their non-disabled peers, then I want to make sure that those barriers are addressed and a Section 504 plan is in place for them. As you may have seen in other WOW presentations, here's a glimpse at our WOW schedule. Last week was full of welcome back events, orientations, as well as our departments and special program open houses. This week, our assessment and EL departments will also be providing our Compass families with some amazing information to ensure our scholars have a successful school year. In the event that you miss out on one of the live offerings, a recorded library of all our offerings will be made available in our upcoming Monday morning update. So if you have any questions regarding our MTSS intervention program, please reach out to Melissa Mayer. If you have any questions regarding the Scholar Study Team program or Section 504 plans, please contact me, Dawn Lothringer. We'd like to thank you all for joining us today and wish you much success in the 24-25 school year.